Okay, people, what's happening? Victory and Vices podcast. We're back. Me, Rory Spooner, Reese Henley. No James Veck with us this week. He will be back next week due to scheduling conflicts. And as you can see below us, we've got a very special guest, Mr. Nicky Hunt. Now, Nicky, thank you for taking the time to come on and speak with us. This is one we've been looking forward to for a while. We have to reschedule a little bit, but we're back where we need to be. So the best place to really kick off is, how are you keeping with everything that's going on, mate? How is life in general treating you?
Considering everything that's going on, great. Family's well, I'm well, and that's all you need in these difficult times, isn't it? Really. It's been hard. It's been tough. It's been boring, I think, for everyone, just being inside and stuff and not being able to see friends and other members of family and stuff. But hopefully it's come to an end now, and then we look forward to the summer. And we can actually get out and actually do things as in human form instead of just being behind a laptop or on a phone or stuff like that.
Obviously with us as well. I mean, we've been chatting to, like we mentioned to you off air, we've chatted to a few professional footballers during the lockdown, and it's been interesting hearing what different people have been doing to stay fit and what the clubs have been doing. I mean, you're with Darlington at the moment, right? And what were they like at the start, and how did they sort of develop into the lockdown?
It's a very professionally run club, to be fair. I know they're in the National League North, but they do things from top to bottom quite professionally. I was quite surprised when I from day one, I think, from pre-season and stuff, I was quite surprised because I'd only known league football, you see. And sometimes dropping down, a lot of players might think, I'm above this level and stuff, but you can't have that mentality, and I can't congratulate them enough for what they've done, and especially for the players this lockdown as well. The pre-season was great. It was normal, and then obviously when COVID hit, it's for the second time really, and it got a bit you were just permanently at home. And luckily for us, we were still in this cup competition, so we could train as long as we were in the cup, this FA Trophy Cup that we was in. But a lot of the clubs had not played since January, and we were so lucky that we were still involved in this cup competition, so we could still train twice a week and still play on a Saturday. Obviously you got to win the games to progress in the cup, and we were fortunate because for the past three months now, it's only the past 2 weeks we've not been in training because we're out of the cup, but previously we've been in all this time, and it's helped massively for everyone to take their mind off what's going on and just get into a bit of normality at the football club.
Yeah. How are the old fitness levels, by the way? Obviously, you're a veteran now. You're doing all right, yeah?
The knees have not packed up yet. The back's still upright. So yeah, it is what it is. I think I still really enjoy playing. The older you get, I think there's only Ryan Giggs that's an X to the credentials of a footballer. Really, he seemed to get fitter the older he was getting. Playing the Premier League till his 40s is a phenomenal achievement. But I'll play as long as I can, and as long as I carry on enjoying it. And that day might come when I wake up and I think it's not for me anymore, and I go on to pastures new. But at the minute, I'm fully fledged footballer at the minute.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned about the love of the game, because fair play to you for keeping going, because it's not easy, to drag yourself out of bed every day. And that sounds strange to a lot of people, Nicky, right? Because they equate football to being the dream job. And it is in a lot of circumstances, but it comes with an intense amount of scrutiny and an intense amount of pressure that maybe people outside the game, they don't really understand. When I hear people like Danny Rose, for example, Danny Rose talking about how, football, there's days when it's just not for him at all, when it's a job and he doesn't look at it like a dream job anymore. Did you see a lot of sort of pros fall out of love with the game? Is that something you remember quite a bit of?
Yeah, I think to be honest, I think at every club I've been at, there's been professionals there that are in it. They're in it for their own gains. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. They're in it for either the money, they're in it for just because it's a job and they're no good at anything else, or they actually genuinely love doing it. And there's no better job in the world. There's three categories really. I've just categorized them for you there really. But for me, I've never been like that. Touch wood. I think there's maybe only at Bristol City where I thought to myself, I'm miles away from home. football's not going how I want it to go. You know, where do I go from here, sort of thing. But luckily for me, you know, I found a new club, and you know, I just thoroughly enjoyed my career from then on.
Yeah, no, that's good, mate. That's good. In terms of your fitness levels, I wanted to actually check in with you about the injury you had in November, because I was reading about it, and that's the second type of that injury you've had, like a concussion. How are you feeling after that? Is there any side effects, or are you all okay?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I'm absolutely fine. Yeah, it's from the. I don't remember anything from the incident or anything. You see, it's so weird. The first one I do, it was Plymouth away. That I think I was at Accrington at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was knocked out for about 10 minutes there, and I remember that you know, I remember that all the way through. But this one was completely different. It was so innocuous, and it was. You know, I've watched the video back, and it's just like there's nothing in the challenge, and you know, plays going on as if I'm going to get straight back up, and then you know it take a turn for the worst. And luckily, everyone was on hand, and you know, I think they've a lot of you know respect and a lot of my gratitude and love for them, because to be honest, if it hadn't been for them there, I could have been in some serious trouble.
Yeah, people don't often see how serious those types of injuries can be. I mean, we mentioned you off air. We talked to Ian Hume, who suffered a bad injury of that type.
Oh yeah, horrendous.
I think as well. I mean, look, there's other examples of people getting knocked out and not remembering things. I mean, a high profile one. I remember a footballer called Christoph Kramer at the World Cup in 2014. He played the first 12 minutes of the final and got knocked out. Obviously, was subbed and said he didn't remember playing at all in the World Cup final.
Oh wow!
Wow. And that is just, so it just shows how complex the brain is.
Mine was only Boston at home, so that's put that into you know, categorize that, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Maybe it's one to forget as well. So
exactly. Lost the game.
It just goes to show how serious these things are. So yeah, definitely great year on the mend.
Yeah, with the sort of the mental side of it, because that interests me as well. Physically, obviously, we talked about that. One player I look at, and I think mentally he's only now really recovered, is Luke Shaw. I was watching him on the weekend, and you know the runs he was making and the goal he scored, he looked like the Luke Shaw before the leg break. But it's taken, you know, how many years? I don't even know when Luke Shaw broke his leg. 5-6 years ago. Like, I would watch Luke Shaw play. And with all due respect to Luke Shaw, terrific player, but he didn't look like the same guy. It's like he didn't go into tackles the same. He kind of was very hesitant. Is that something you worry about yourself now in terms of you know, going into tackles? And is it in the back of your mind, Nicky, when you play?
I'd be lying if I said it wasn't, you know, but it's not nowhere near the forefront. It's really like right at the back. You know, it's not going to affect my performance in any way. But there is always that, you know, if I do go up for a header, or if I do go in for this challenge, you know, there's a chance that something might break or something might go wrong. But you've just got to overcome that. And if you to play football, you're going to make challenges. Obviously, in the Premier League now, it's different. I think challenges don't get made. When I used to play, I was playing with Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira, Manuel Pizzini. You know, real like guys that just love tackling, loved elbowing you in the head and headers, and you know, and picking you up and just saying get up. Do you know what I mean? It's completely different genre. It's completely different era now. But yeah, you know, if I think the day when I think that I'm going to go in for a tackle and I don't want to go in for a tackle, I think that's the day to give up.
That's a typical response, I think, Nicky. I mean, that's across a lot of sports. I mean, I listen to a lot of Formula One drivers. Often ask, you know, do you ever think about, especially if they've had a crash, do you ever think about, you know, possibly dying when you go in to do your job? And they say, well, the moment that I actually concentrate on that and worry about that is probably the day that I stop doing it. So I suppose you're probably no different there. The day that you stop sort of weighing it up in your mind and it being worth it is probably when that day comes for you. But like you said, there's been so many physical demands throughout your career. I suppose it's just part and parcel of the job. I mean, when you were at Bolton, you primarily played under Sam Allardyce, and everyone knows, you know, what a Sam Allardyce team is and the physical demands. What exactly are those physical demands?
Where do I start? I mean, you started at pre-season. My first ever pre-season, I think I was 18, and we went to Austria for a fitness camp, and we didn't get the box. We went for 9 days, and for the first 5 days, he didn't bring a football out. Like, so you literally, like, you'd leave the hotel on your bikes. We'd all have bikes. I think it was about 1.5 miles on the bikes or 2 miles on the bikes to get to the training pitch. And then you'd be wishing for the assistant Phil Brown or one of the coaches to just have a bag of balls with him, and you think, no, he's not got them. He's just come in the van. He's not got them. It's cones, poles, everything but balls, and you're just thinking, oh my God. And we were there for 2 hours in the morning, and then a bike in the afternoon, and then you train again in the evening. And yeah, it was just. But as soon as them 5 days were up, you knew that the balls were out, and you'd start and really enjoying pre-season again. But you just have to get over the first 5 days, and it's all mental. It was all mental with Sam. If you were mentally stable and mentally, stable is the wrong word. Mentally, you could overcome problems mentally.
Yeah.
He would love you, and he knew that you'd play well for him, and he's a massive on mentality.
Yeah, I think people underestimate Sam Allardyce really in terms of his tactics. I mean, some people like to think that they can sort of predict these sort of tactics, and they can make comparisons with Tony Pulis as well. I was listening to Ben Foster talk, and he said that they went in at halftime one game, and they were playing such really gorgeous football all of a sudden at West Brom, and Tony Pulis came in really angry, drew on the whiteboard, drew everyone's names, and just crossed out the midfield and went, I want you to get it from the defence to the attack, and just crossed out the midfield, and it was just long ball football. That's what he wanted. Yeah. Is that kind of what Sam Allardyce was going for?
Yes and no, really. He knew that the first 10 minutes of each half were crucial, because he knew that if you spend the first 10 minutes of each half in the opposition's half, you got every chance of being dominant during the game, no matter who you were playing, because it puts them on the back foot and it puts you on the front foot. And he had all the stats to prove all this. And honestly, he went through real deep on statistics and tactics, and he was a tactician. But yeah, he did. Obviously, we had players like Kevin Davis, who, 6'3", 6'3" tall, 8'3" wide, and it's like, you want to play with them type of players, because he knows what's coming. He knows there's a long diagonal ball in the first 10 minutes. That's all he's going to play for, and he's going to give the centre halves tough times, and that's how we did. But obviously, Sam Allardyce had a knack for bringing in, very talented players. Given that they might have been towards the end of the career, but we certainly got 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons out of them, which I don't think any other manager at that time could have got out of them players that we had.
Yeah. Do Sam is such an interesting character. He's fascinating, because the comparison a lot of people make with Sam is Mike Bassett, right? Which I think is a little unfair. Have you seen the film, The Mike Bassett?
I've seen it many times. Yeah, I've seen it.
It's an absolute belter for the people that haven't watched it. It is just.
Well, Sammy Lee's like Dodsey. Sammy Lee's exactly like Dodsey. That's Sammy Lee. That. Yes, boss. Yes, boss. Yes, boss. Yeah, that's it.
That's the comparison that comes up, right? Is Sam and Mike Bassett, and I think it's a little unfair. But looking back, obviously, hindsight is a wonderful thing. You mentioned, especially, there was no ball work for 5 days. Now, when you look at the clubs abroad developing technical players, the balls are out at breakfast. They're making sure that you've got a ball constantly. Do you maybe think it was archaic? But looking back now, do you think it was maybe the wrong approach?
For that time, no. I can categorically say no, because we were fitter than anybody else that we came up against. It proved in games that we won, and games that we drew in the last minutes of games and stuff, because we knew that we could go to the end of games. We could outrun people and opposition players within the last 10, 15 minutes of games. We had all the stats to prove it, and he was adamant about you put in the hard work for the first 4 weeks of the pre-season, the whole of July.
Yeah.
And then August, your pre-season games take care of themselves, because obviously there's nothing like match fitness, but you do need a big build-up in fitness to get to the match fitness, really. And he was a massive believer in all that.
Yeah, he seemed to be very ahead of the curve when it came to sports science as well. I remember, reading a lot about Sam being sort of one of the first to implement it, which I think is impressive, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for that. When they talk about sports science, Nicky, what did he sort of implement? Obviously, you mentioned data and various other things. Was there anything in particular that he brought that sort of from a sort of sports science standpoint that other clubs didn't?
I think we were one of the first clubs to have a cryotherapy machine. I think there was only possibly Arsenal had one. He was big on recovery. Recovery after games, he was massive on. He's massive on what you eat after games, how you recover. the 2 days after a game is the most crucial part of the following. Even if you had if you went from Saturday to Saturday, so the average week was you play on a Saturday, if you didn't have a game on the Tuesday, you'd be off Sunday, and then in Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, in Thursday, Friday, play Saturday. But the Sunday and Monday, Sunday you'd be recovering at home, doing what you're doing with your family. Then Monday you'd be in for 2-3 hours, and it'll be total recovery. The ones that played will just be total recovery. It'll be ice baths, hot and cold baths, hot showers, cold bath again, and then into the cryotherapy chamber. That's the worst experience of your life. Do not ever. It's the freezingest thing that I've ever been in. And I've been in like cold lakes in Austria or, in places like that in pre-season. And it was nowhere near. It's like, I don't know what it is, minus 50 degrees or something like that in there. It's so cold, but he was adamant about recovery. And he had, he was massive on stats, but he was also big on psychological. He had a psychologist, Mike Ford, which was great. He worked for quite a few years, I think. And then I think he's ended up at Chelsea. He went to Chelsea after us. He's made a career about sports psychology, specifically in football. And he had all the people. I think at one point we went to an away game. I think it might have been a European game. And we had 21 staff and 19 players, I think, on the away game. It got to a stage where he had that many, but they all were crucial in implementing what he wanted to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. He seemed very ahead of the curve when it came to that. So with that being said, obviously, how does that compare to recovery now in the lower leagues? What's the differences?
I've just had it, a Chinese and a Peroni, so that's the recovery. No, I mean, in the lower leagues, obviously, you've not got the staff to implement it all. You've got your physios and you've got your fitness coaches and stuff, but it is completely different because the money's not there for one. Obviously, the higher you are, the more money you've got. So you can have all these people. Man City is a prime example. I've still got a couple of guys that I know at Man City, and they know how each individual staff member can benefit each player and benefit all the other staff and all the coaches as well. That's why they have so many people there. But as far as at my level now, it's literally you look after yourself. You know your own body. I do anyway. I've been playing the game for 20 years, so it's your own body. You know how long you take to recover. I'd take a lot longer now to recover from games, especially if I'm playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. It's my body's in absolute turmoil, but I can recover if it's Saturday to Saturday. I know that 2 days after a game, I'll, play on the Saturday, and then by the Monday, Tuesday, I'm still sore, but by the Thursday, Friday, I'm fine. It does take a lot longer.
That sounds a bit like me after a weekend out, Nick.
Like a hangover, but you're not drunk. That's basically what it is, yeah.
Like younger me, I could get up for work on a Sunday after a night out on a Saturday, and I just come in. I'm like, no problem. But now I need the Monday and Tuesday to recover. Maybe Wednesday, a bit of cryotherapy on the Thursday, and then I'm back on the Friday.
No, you don't need selling yet. Leave the Thursday. Just go to the pub again. Just do not step in a cryotherapy chamber.
One of my favorite quotes of mine is from a one driver, and he just said that the cure for hangover is to have more days where you're drinking than not drinking.
Yeah, I totally agree. I couldn't agree more, to be honest. Yeah.
No, I've got to wonder, Nicky, with all that, the pre-season that you're describing there sounds awful. How did the European lads coming in deal with it? I mean, how does a Hierro come in to a Bolton and then get told to play for all this time without a ball?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think obviously him and Ivan Campo came from the same. They were at Real Madrid for many years. They've got a different, they've got a different regime. They've got a different, whole aspect of football over there. It's literally, like you said, have a ball for breakfast and then sleep with it, when you get to bed. But, I think when Sam was crucial in them signing for Bolton because he used to fly over and meet them personally. Yeah. Which I don't think you get that anymore. Especially, I don't think you get that at the Premier League level now. I don't think you get managers flying over to generally sit down and meet players. I think it's all done by their agents. Yeah. To make as much money as possible and to get the players to the highest clubs in the world, which is great. But I just think you know more about meeting a person one on one. I'm sure Sam Allardyce went and met many other, players that never actually got to play for us because either he got a bad vibe from them or they got a bad vibe from him. So he was very specific on who he picked and who he wanted to bring to the club because he knew what benefit they could have.
Yeah, interesting. You mentioned the the personal touch. I think there's only two recollections I have in recent memory. One was, I think, Aaron Ramsey, where this story, I might be paraphrasing it, beg your pardon, where Aaron Ramsey went to Old Trafford for, I think it was a tour of the ground, or he went to see the club, and he was expecting, I think, Sir Alex Ferguson, or whoever was in charge at the time. It might have been Ferguson. I'm pretty sure Gary Neville gave him a tour, and that's why he didn't join Manchester United, because Arsene Wenger actually took him on a private jet and met up with him. And like you said, that personal touch. And the only other one I can think of in recent time is Jude Bellingham, where Bellingham got the red carpet treatment from Dortmund and United, and probably rightly chose Dortmund, in fairness, because that was sort of a better suit for him. But you're right, Nicky, it doesn't really happen anymore. It kind of goes to intermediaries and agents, and it's how can we sort of maximize this, in the most, in the biggest way, I suppose. It's a strange old game right now. I mean, from an agent standpoint, we've mentioned this with Ian Hume previously. What's your take on agents in the game? Are they do you appreciate them, or do you look at them now and think to yourself, well, hang on, what are you doing here?
Well, I the agency side of it might be something that I want to do after football, but purely because I've got two comments to make about this, because I've had agents in obviously throughout my career. I had agents from 18 to 26, but when I got to 26, I've done every single deal myself from the age of 26. So I think I've done about 6 or 7 of my own deals, because I just thought agents, for me personally, can get you so far.
Yeah.
The only thing that gets a footballer a move is his own 2 feet. He's the only person that gets him the moves. I mean, it's the easiest thing to be now at the minute. Harry Kane's agent. He's scoring 2 every game, and his agent can't. He doesn't want a move away from Tottenham. All he wants is a new deal. So his agent can knock on every 12 months the chairman's door. Yeah, Harry wants another, 50, 60 grand a week, 100,000 pound a week. Not a problem. Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah, sign. It's the easiest job in the world. That, like, for me, agents need to come in where like we spoke about injuries before, like players that may have had a bad injury and then coming back and they're not getting into the team anymore, no matter what level this is, not getting into the team anymore, and they need to move on. They need to get out, but their agents, not interested in them anymore because they've been injured for 12 months and he's got other footballers on his books, and they get pushed to the bottom of the pile. I've seen it. I've been one of them players, in the past, and this is what I don't want to happen to especially young players, but especially the older players. A lot of the older players still have agents, but I just felt personally, for me, I knew where I wanted to be and what clubs I wanted to go to and how I wanted to play, and there's only me that could do that. But initially, in the beginning, from 17 to 26, I think agents are quite crucial in this game for what avenues they can open up, especially for younger players.
Yeah. I mean, the big one, I suppose, that we all look at, and he's probably very infamous for the way he opens up avenues, is Mino Raiola. Yeah. Like, he really seems to go the extra mile for his players. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of financial gain in there for him, but I don't doubt on a personal level as well that he cares. And I think sometimes that, like you said, that's missing. You might get lads that maybe end up on the scrap heap a little bit. They're forgotten guys, and they're thinking to themselves, well, like you said before, Nicky, I've no real education. I don't know anything else. All I just want is a helping hand to just, guide me. So in terms of agency stuff, I mean, would you sort of partner with an agency, or would you sort of do it solo?
No, I think I'd like to go into partnership. Obviously I can't do anything at the minute because I'm still actively playing football. But as soon as I, officially retire, then I'm free to do whatever I please, But I've still, especially at clubs I've been at recently and in the past, I still speak to quite a few players from the clubs I've been at. So I know. Obviously, a lot of the players, 99% of players have agents now, but there is the 1% that don't. That that either they say they don't need one, or their dad does it a lot of the time. With you find out that especially younger lads, they trust the dad, and which is great. You know what I mean? But if your dad's not a footballing background, if he's an ex-player and stuff, he might know a lot more than. But if your dad's just your dad that has never been in the game before, it's difficult for them to know your true worth, because every dad's going to think the son's the best player in the world. Do you know what I mean? Everything going to say, you're next Messi, and you're going to play for Man United, but it's the real world, and and 99.999% of people don't play for Man United or the top clubs. It's hard.
Yeah, do you know, interesting you mentioned that about fathers, because I think it was Mason Greenwood's father, I think, negotiated his current Manchester United contract. And I'm always intrigued by that, Nicky. Walk me through the process of a contract signing. So you said obviously you handled a lot of it by yourself. I would assume you would need a guy with a law degree or some sort of, background in that sort of field to kind of look through a contract and see sort of the clauses and the loopholes and things like that. Is it a case of when you got your contracts, for example, do they just sort of email them to you or fax them to you, and you then give them to a solicitor to look over, or do you just look over it and say, okay, I'm happy with that, let me just sign it?
A bit of both, really. I think initially in the beginning, when I first stopped having an agent, I knew what to look for in a contract, sort of thing. Obviously, contracts can be three pages long or 333 pages long. There's no standard. There is a standard contract, but there's that many add-ons clauses in all contracts these days that you do need a professional lawyer or solicitor just have a look through it, and just providing that everything's because I'm not saying a lot of clubs do it, but some clubs will put things in that that they're hoping you'd miss, like you don't get this bonus, or do you know what I mean, or this doesn't benefit you, it benefits the club, or that everyone's trying to do a little bit extra to make them a little bit extra money, and it can go unnoticed there. So it's very, very easy to just have a flick through, look at your basic wage, look at how many years you've got, and think, yeah, great, I'll sign that. And then before you know it, after 12 months, anything could happen. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lottery. Do you know, I wanted to get your opinion on an interview I saw the other day. You may have seen it, Nicky. I don't know. It kind of got around Twitter a little bit. Did you see the Ravel Morrison interview where he talked about Sam?
Oh, no, I missed it. A couple of lads have been talking about it, but I totally missed it.
I really wanted your opinion on it. Obviously, having worked with Sam, and we've mentioned the whole agency side of things. And again, I'm paraphrasing because I don't want to necessarily use Ravel's words that he used, but basically, it was in effect what he said was he got offered a contract by West Ham, and Sam said, "Look, I want you to sign with my agent." At which point, Ravel Morrison said no, and the contract was then taken away from him. Obviously, Sam comes across as a very nice guy, but there are, like you say, shady elements of football. When you heard about that, did that surprise you?
No. Obviously, I don't know if it's true. It's Ravel's word against, Sam's. I'm not saying either person are lying, but but I've seen both sides. I've heard of that happening in the past, with other players that I've played with, and I've heard managers say that in the past. It does. It's football's football. It's not this, tiptoeing about, doing everything for everyone, doing everything, great stuff for everyone. It's a business, and businesses, have ways of, doing their own business their own way, whether it's cutting corners or making a bit of extra money for themselves or doing it their way. It's a business at the end of the day, and just as every other business in the world does it.
Yeah, do you know, I suppose for us, because we've never had a peek behind that curtain, it kind of shocks us a little bit sometimes. Like I was watching the reaction to Ravel speaking about it, and a lot of people were quite surprised. And on one hand, I suppose I was. That's, the naivety in me. But then on the other hand, I thought, well, the cynic in me is, like you said, Nicky, everyone's kind of in it for themselves. So, I suppose I looked at it both ways in that respect. But again, it leads me nicely into another part I wanted to ask you, and I'm quite fascinated to get your opinion on this. Obviously, Sam got the England job, and it was like that's the holy grail for Sam. It's like Mike Bassett comes to life almost, right? And then you have this situation where, like you said, there's maybe a few corners are cut, maybe there's a few backhanders, and basically the newspaper, they done him over. And there's obviously the sting, and Sam then sort of, I don't know if the word is maybe losing the England job because of it, but the position he couldn't continue in it. What was your take on that when that news came out?
I think that it was wrong. The whole way it was done was completely wrong. I think for such a high profile guy, Sam, he's been fantastic for me, all throughout my Bolton. He was great. I just think that he did get done over by the TV and by the undercover reporters and stuff. And there was no need to. I think it came across where there wasn't any. I don't think he actually did anything physically wrong. Do you know what I mean? He didn't actually do anything wrong, but it was just so high profile, and it got so much media coverage that the FA must have thought to themselves, we need to act fast. And ultimately, I think it's the shortest tenure of an England manager in
He also boasts 100% win record as well. So
there you go. Then he's probably the only England manager to boast that record as well. So yeah, on both fronts there, he's set 2 records there.
I think that's the narrative you'll go with. I'll be honest, is the 100% win ratio. And he did say before, if his name was Allardyce, he would be in for the top jobs, and perhaps if his name was Allardyce, then the FA might not have come down on him so hard. I don't know.
Well, yeah, there is that argument. I think I totally agree. I think a lot of because Sam's come from an era, he's like the Tony Pulis era, the Alex McLeish era, who I've played under. He's a fantastic manager. That Harry Redknapp, from the old school managers. Mark Hughes is, I'd still put him up there as an old school manager. And they come from an era which is completely different to the era now. And whether foreign managers are coming over, the Mourinho's, the Conte's when he was over, the Ranieris of this world, and they are older, but they came from a different background. Whereas the English-bred managers have obviously been bred up here in this country, and it's a completely different way of life, and it does affect them in different ways.
It's interesting how I kind of felt like they did Sam over, because I was a little bit younger when Sven-Göran Eriksson was England manager, and I seem to remember that lad getting away with a lot, right? And I don't remember Sam being given that same courtesy. It was almost like he was so unfancied for the job, whichever way they could get him out as quick as they could. Almost like a snobbery from the English press a little bit. Like Sven-Göran Eriksson was this Swedish, IKEA tactician, and he was that guy, and he was smooth and he was suave. And then you just had Big Sam, and they still probably thought to themselves, do we really want him on the international stage? And yeah, they did tuck him up a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, Sam will probably look back and think, he was probably a little naive in his approach maybe. But I mean, you live and you learn, right, Nicky? It is what it is.
Of course you do. I mean, I think everyone's been at a stage of their life where they're saying, yeah, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I'd have done that differently. But, it is what it is. An hour after doing whatever you've done, you can't change it. You can't go back. You can't turn back the hands of time, etc. So you just got to live with it and live with what you the mistakes that you made and decisions that you made. And if you can live with that, carry on the rest of your life and live a prosperous and happy life. You've got to make mistakes to get better at everything, at anything in life, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, Sam's doing all right for himself now at West Brom. Do you think, in terms of West Brom, actually, very quickly, just to touch upon them, do you think he'll keep them up, or do you think they're sort of too far behind?
I think he's the only manager at the minute, the current manager that could have half a chance of keeping him up. I think any other manager would go in there and wouldn't have a prayer. I'll be brutally honest with you. I think he's got everything it takes to. That's why they employed him. That's why they wanted him to take over for the last 6 months of the season. And he's the right man for the job. And in my eyes, is the only man to try and keep them up.
Yeah, no, very true. We wish him well. Going back to the glory days at Bolton, there's one thing I had to sort of speak to you about, and I was watching the highlights before I came on, right? And I was like, I've got to ask him about this. You were the first right back that Cristiano Ronaldo faced in the Premier League. He made his debut for Bolton against Manchester United.
But don't forget that I was the first right back that Cristiano Ronaldo faced. So, so you know what I mean. So that's where I'm coming from.
I was watching the highlights, and he eventually, I will say, you did. You had him tucked up. he went over onto the right-hand side and
he did, and then we lost 4-0.
But in fairness, now, right, there was a moment where I think he gets past you, only just, he struggled past, and then I think it was Kevin Nolan that gave away a penalty.
For the penalty. I think I tackled him, but he came away with the ball, sort of thing, and then Kevin Nolan, tripped him up or pulled him back in the penalty box.
Yeah, I was watching it thinking, Nicky did well there, in fairness. He let Kevin take the fall for that.
Can't be giving a penalty away at Old Trafford on the day.
And he went onto the right-hand side then, and in fairness, Ronaldo played well. That was kind of the stage was set. But I was interested to get your opinion on it. After the game, what were the lads thinking about him? Were you really impressed?
I think we were just it got hyped up before the game, like immensely, that this new homecoming of like a new David Beckham was here. Do you know what I mean? You could feel the hype around the stadium when you got there, while you're getting changed and then going out on the pitch warming up. Even you could sense something in the atmosphere. It was quite surreal, really. Maybe that was just because it was my debut, or I don't know, but you could definitely sense. And then when it got to 71 minutes, we're only losing 1-0.
Yeah,
I had Ryan Giggs in my pocket. He had to go off, and then you see Ronaldo coming on. You're thinking, right, okay. So I've got 29. No, I've got 19 minutes to see what I can do against this guy, and then the rest they say is history, don't they?
Yeah. He played well. He played well, Ronaldo, that game, and obviously the hype, it built up from there. Out of curiosity, obviously Sam being the tactician that he is, did he have some sort of special plan for Ronaldo before the game, or was it just, look, Nicky, if he comes in your zone, put him down?
Basically, no, we didn't. No, I think the day before we did the team shape and things, and Sam's great, on a Friday at focusing on how we play and how we can, benefit us in what we can do. He wasn't very, affected by the opposition, and I thought that was a massive strength for him, because he believed that, and he instilled it in us to go out on the pitch, and no matter who you're playing against, who you play, what team, what the weather's like, etc. Just go out, do your best, and that's all he can ask for. And he was sure in his mind the team he'd pick week in, week out would give him what he'd give them, which is 110%.
Yeah, that United team that day, they had some quality. Giggs, you tucked up Ronaldo. Van Nistelrooy barely got a sniff. You did all right that day.
Just to name a few, just to name a few.
But who would you say is Ronaldo the best player you played against, do you think? Or is there a particular opponent which was sort of, you think was maybe a little bit better? Because you got the young Ronaldo. You never.
I got the baby Ronaldo, really. Thierry Henry, I think he used to play on the left all the time, which was a nightmare. A nightmare for me. I'd much rather have played, centre forward, 9 or 10, or even a 7, on the right wing, just out of my way. But he always used to drift over on the left, and he was so difficult to play against, because he had pace, he had power, and he had the stop-start where he'd dribble the ball, he'd stop the ball, and you'd think, I've got him here. He'd wait for you to dive in, and then he'd just kick it past you and run. And he had a knack for doing that, and he did it to many defenders over the years, not just me.
Yeah, we had a debate the other day, actually. Well, I said the other day when Norberto Solano was on, and I asked Norberto, do you think Alan Shearer is the best striker in the Premier League, or the Premier League's ever seen? Obviously, you've touched upon Henry there. Is there a one in particular that you think was the best?
I think it's hard, because I played against so many, especially that era. I mean, Drogba. When he came to Chelsea, people go on about, Lampard and all the goals scored, but Drogba, he was an animal. He was an absolute animal, and he was an extremely difficult opponent. But obviously, like Van Nistelrooy, they were just goal scorers, like finishers. Like you couldn't give him 1 yard in the box, because he'd turn and swivel and put it away. So you had to be on your game, every single minute of every single game, and if you weren't, then you get punished, and that's how the Premiership is now. You get punished with basically every mistake you make.
Yeah, well, speaking of finishers, obviously you played with some cracking players. We talk about Kevin Davis, very underrated football player, and a lad that intrigues me a lot, and I wanted to get your opinion on him, was Nicolas Anelka. Did you see his Netflix documentary by any chance?
No, I've not watched it. No, I should watch it, really, shouldn't I?
Great watch.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a clip of you in there somewhere. But
oh, right, okay, I better watch it then. I better watch it tonight. Then, actually, I better get it on.
Yeah, finish the Chinese at the Peroni, chuck on Anelka.
Oh well, might be tomorrow morning. That then.
Yeah. He's he's a fascinating character. And he is someone, again, that the media sort of, I don't know if they maybe manipulated his personality, but they said he was sullen and he was moody and he was X, Y, and Z. And the documentary peeled back a few layers, and it showed a lad that from a young age had a lot of scrutiny and a lot of pressure. The Real Madrid move they showed and how unhappy he was. And, when he came to Bolton, it was so unfancied, but he just looked so comfortable. What was he like as a guy?
He was quiet.
Yeah,
he was quiet, but he oozed like a typical French suave. Do you know what I mean? He had all the he was cool. He was a cool guy. But he did it. He wasn't cocky with it. He was just so relaxed and so nonchalant. I'd say, because he just in everything he did, the way he trained, the way he performed on a match day, and then after training he'd just go home. No one had ever. Obviously, we went out for meals and stuff, and he'd come on the meals and that, but he didn't drink. He was, I actually went to his wedding in Marrakesh.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was that was insane. It was incredible. Like no expense spared. Like it was incredible. But yeah, as a type of guy, I loved having him around. He brought a whole sense of coolness back into the little town of Bolton. Which I don't think many people can think Bolton's cool. Do you know what I mean? But you get what I'm saying. He brought, everyone was just he was a massive name, and Big Sam got him again.
Yeah, sorry,
with Anelka as well. I mean, you may have even answered my question, but I was going to ask, with names like JJ Okocha, Anelka, you got names like Thierry, Campo in there as well. Was there anyone that particularly came that had that aura about them? Would you say he was that person, or was there someone else that particularly came and brought this sense of wow with them?
Yeah, I'd say Anelka. I'd say Jorkeb as well.
Jorkeb's a player.
It must just be even when JJ was different, because JJ was a joker. JJ was a laugh and a joker, but Yuri was, quite serious, and Nico was quite serious, and maybe that's just the nationalities and the background. But they're the three that I was only, what was I, 18 in the changing room when JJ was in there and Yuri was in there, and I was starstruck every day. Training with these guys that. World Cup winner Yuri, and JJ has done. He's I think he's won the Champions. He was at PSG for years. And stuff. He's won a lot of trophies and that, and you just think, wow, like. And all my mates were, especially in that first year, messaging me saying, "Oh, have you got a picture of JJ?" And like, no, you don't just sit. Like JJ, can we just have like a selfie? Stuff like that. Stuff like that doesn't happen. But yeah, it was fantastic for me, especially being so young in such a changing room with such great players.
Yeah, which one was the most impactful signing, Nicky, do you think? Because obviously, I mean, we could reel through so many. There's Kevin Nolan, Kevin Davis, Stelios, Jokayev, Anelka, Hierro, Campo. Who do you say had the biggest impact in terms of turning Bolton?
I think the biggest impact of turning, I think JJ, purely because I think the season before I broke, was it the season before I broke through? Where I think I was watching the game. We beat, I don't know, I think we beat Middlesbrough 2-0, and he scored the goals to keep us up, I think, or we were safe with a game to go or something like that at the beat. And I think from then on it kick-started his, so good they named him twice sort of thing. And it just helped him start massive and then just become mega, in everyone in Bolton Wanderers' eyes. And I think he was the one that, was at the peak of the rise of Bolton Wanderers, so to speak. I mean, because we had 4 or 5 seasons where we finished top 6, top 7 every season. We qualified for Europe twice. It was just sensational time to be there, really.
Yeah. The so good he named him twice. Nicky, I'll be honest with you. When Eric Jemba joined Man United, I told the lads the same thing. I was like, lads, he's so good. They named him twice. I promise you, Nicky, to this day, they still remind me I said it.
I bet they do. Yeah,
they absolutely slaughter me every time. So United said, "What's he like? Is he the new Jemba then?" They finished me that day.
Oh no!
Did you play against Jemba by any chance?
If I did, I can't remember. That's how effective he was. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when he signed. I probably did. It just depends when he actually signed. I'm not sure.
I can't. Look, he's so forgetful. I can't even.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
God love him, like the poor guy. But yeah, so good he named him twice. JJ Okocha can maintain that sort of. He can keep that title because Jemba.
I think he deserves it. Yeah, I think he deserves it. Yeah.
You mentioned as well, Nicky, that when JJ came in, I mean, he'd won all these trophies in Europe, prior to joining Bolton. I mean, there was obviously a moment where you played in a cup final yourself. And I remember that, actually. I think it was one of my first real footballing memories, actually, was watching the Carling Cup final between Bolton and Middlesbrough. Don't ask me why that sticks out, but it does. And I just got to wonder, really, I know obviously you went on to lose the game 2-1. But I just wonder, what's it like playing in a cup final? How do you get yourself prepared for that, and sort of what is the impact of maybe losing that game? How do you psych yourself up for it?
I think we had like a week's worth of psyching ourselves up. I think the cup final was on a Sunday, and we hadn't played since the previous Saturday, so we had a full week. We had like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think we travelled down to London on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And then I think we trained Friday, trained Saturday in and around about London, and then played the final on the Sunday. And we had a lot of time to prepare. Maybe in hindsight, we had too much time to prepare, too much time to think about things. On the day, it was a first cup final for a lot of the players that played that day in our team. Anyway, I think there was me, Kevin Nolan, Kevin Davis, Yossi. I don't think that played in. You think Yossi played in playoff finals, but maybe not in an actual cup final, or So there was quite a few players in the starting 11 that had not been on that stage before. But I don't necessarily. I don't think if you look at the run of the game, it didn't really affect us. I think they scored a penalty, which was 2 touches on the penalty anyway. Yeah. But Mike Riley again saved the day and gave the penalty anyway, and as he usually did when we had him as a referee. Yeah. But yeah, it was just one of them days. We played it underneath the roof as well, which it didn't help bowl teams, I don't think, because there was no air. People were setting fireworks off and stuff and flares, and all the smoke was staying in the stadium. I don't understand why they didn't open the roof and just let the fresh air in. It wasn't raining or anything, but it was just a gimmick for them. It was the first retractable roof stadium, etc. And they wanted it to be, all eyes on them, not really for the players that were playing.
Yeah. That's interesting you mentioned that, because I've always wondered what it's like to play under a closed roof. I think I watched a Wales game a long time ago in the Principality under a closed roof, and the atmosphere was good. For little things like that, obviously they can impact the game. But as a footballer, do you have a preference when it comes to that? Do you think? Would you rather an open stadium?
I'd rather play an open. I'd rather play an open air. It's much more of a natural feel. I think when you're indoor, it's different. Like it is from a personal point of view, it's very different. Playing under a roof, it's not. It wasn't the same. Although the atmosphere was great, the whole day was great. Obviously, apart from the result, which we're all gutted about. But the comparison to open air football, retractable roof, it's a big difference.
Yeah. Did you actually have a favourite stadium that you played at then, Nicky? Was there one in particular that stood out?
I get asked this question a lot, and I say the same thing every time. Newcastle away, purely because the atmosphere. The atmosphere. Look, Old Trafford was sensational, 8,000 people, but the atmosphere, when we used to play there, the atmosphere wasn't anywhere near what it was when we went to a place like Newcastle, where they had 50,000 screaming from minute 1 to minute 90. And it was brilliant. Honestly, it was sensational to play in. And our away fans were right at the top of the highest tier in like a little square section. and we did really well when we played there. I think we won the majority of the games there, and just to celebrate in the corner, you could just see the fans celebrating with you right at the top. It's great. Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's funny you should mention that, Nicky. I mean, obviously, I'm a Newcastle fan myself, and I lived there for a while, and it is crazy actually when a goal goes in on one end, there's this delay. And then about 2 seconds later, you'll hear the away fans.
yeah, that's exactly how it is. Yeah, it's
so far away. I think I saw a Wolves fan. I think we played Wolves recently, and a Wolves fan posted on Twitter, because obviously fans aren't allowed in the stadium.
Yeah,
I always go away to Newcastle because I love it. So I'm going to replicate the experience. And so he put his laptop at the bottom of the stairs and sat.
yeah,
I saw that. Yeah, that's clever.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is.
I got to ask them again. Obviously, I don't want to keep bringing you back to the FA Cup, to the Carling Cup final loss that you had. But obviously, once that game's lost, and obviously that you're going to be runners up and you get your medals and what have you. What is the mood like? And more specifically, just to put it into context, the next season Bolton go on to finish 6th, and I think that's like the high finish for them with 58 points. And what is an absolutely brilliant season for the club. So I'm wondering, how does Big Sam then come and pick you guys up and turn you into that side and get that out of you?
Probably about 20 Jaeger bombs, 14 vodka Red Bulls, a bottle of whiskey. Now, I think obviously the night after everyone was gutted, but he just said, look, it's a phenomenal achievement to get there. You did everyone proud, and we had a great night at the end of it. Went back home the next day, and then I think he just said to us, I think we had a meeting on the Tuesday, and he just said, look, you can look at yourselves in the mirror and you can say, you give it your all. It's gone now. You've had your limelight day. It's gone. We've got more pressing matters, and I think we was in the Premier League on the Saturday after, or it might have even been on the Thursday or Friday. And he just said, go out, show what you can do, and show me that you've put that behind you. And I think that's what we did for the rest of the season. I think we did qualify for Europe. Or did we not? Or did we finish? I think we might have finished 7th or 8th. I think that year.
Yeah.
So it was just he knew. He was a stickler for what's gone's gone. You can't do anything about it. It's the next game, the next game, the next game, and he instilled that in all his players, and that's why we were so successful, I think.
Yeah. Nicky, looking at the game now, and the evolution, obviously, VAR is a big thing I wanted to discuss with you as well. Do you think the game is better now than it was in your day, or do you think it was better in your day than it is now?
I think it's more clinical now. I think, like I was saying before, I think if you get punished for a mistake now, if you make a mistake now, the more often than not you get punished. Goalkeeping mistakes, defender mistakes, errors. It's so, the breakaway is so quick now, from front to back. Like Man United on yesterday.
Yeah.
The counter-attacking football that's played now is, I would say, a lot quicker and a lot faster than what it was. I'm not saying the counter-attacks were slower. I'm just saying the initial. I think the athletes now, the footballers now, are a lot more. I wouldn't say fitter. I'd just say more, and probably quicker. A lot. Pace is a massive thing now. Where pace wasn't necessary when I was playing in 2003 to 2008, whatever it was. Pace wasn't the be all and end all. Where I think it is now. I think every striker's got pace. Even Harry Kane's got a bit of pace. He's not the fastest player, but then you've got Rashford, who's electric, Martial, who's electric. Sterling, electric. Mahrez, when he's got the ball at his feet, very, very quick, and it's a massive part of the game now. But when I played, it was a lot more physical, which it is. It isn't at all now. I think sometimes I watch Premier League games. I think, what am I watching? Kiddies football? No one puts a tackle in. Like, no one blocks shots. It's because they're scared of it hitting the hand in the pen, giving away a penalty. It's pretty pathetic, to be honest with you. And it's all brought on by this, the extra cameras and the VAR.
Yeah, VAR is very contentious right now. I watched Rio Ferdinand earlier, actually. I think he was on a podcast. It might have been his own podcast. And he said, get rid of it. it's killing the game. Waiting to celebrate a goal. You might be an armpit's hair offside, and all of a sudden, you could score the greatest goal of all time, and if your fingernail is offside, then it doesn't count.
It's mental. Honestly, the game's gone crazy, and the sooner. But I can't see them eradicating it at all. I think it's going to get more advanced. If anything, I think that's the way it's going to go.
I think that they'll probably, they'll refine it, won't they? I mean, look, I myself and another, one of the guys who does the podcast with us, James Beck, we go abroad and we watch some football, and I've seen VAR in Spain, I've seen VAR in Germany, and to be honest with you, there doesn't seem to be a lot of problem with it out there. They seem to be on top of it. They've got a couple of years in us as well. To be honest, my solution to the whole problem is they spend 2-3 minutes figuring out if someone's toenail is offside. Give it 20 seconds. If you can't decide in 20 seconds, let the goal stand. It's that simple. If it is that contentious. But to go back to Spoon's question, I think football was better back in your day, to be honest. And no nonsense fullbacks, and a good old fashioned cross in the box. It's just, you don't see it enough these days. I mean, look, Manchester City yesterday, they passed sideways and backwards for 90 minutes and couldn't do anything. And probably their best opportunities were when they actually did manage to get the centre halves forward. So that's my view in it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think imagine you go through players that I played with or played against, and even Roy Keane would be a prime example. He wouldn't last 15 minutes on a football field anymore. It'd be like he'd get booked in the first 5 minutes, and then he'd put in another tackle, he'd get warned again by the ref, and he'd either get subbed after 15 minutes or he'd be sent off after 15 minutes. But that, in my day, you could make 2 or 3 crunching tackles before you even got a yellow card or before you even got talking to by the ref. As long as you got some part of the ball and it wasn't completely reckless, that's what football was. That's how football was played. And I think it separated a lot of men from boys. I think especially in my era, that were in teams that like when we used to play Arsenal at the Reebok, it sticks in my head all the time because we spent 95 minutes of the whole game just bullying them. Kevin Davies used to bully the centre halves, used to bully the fullbacks. I used to bully the wingers. Our midfielders used to bully their midfielders, and all you could hear was the Arsenal players on at the referee saying, "Why are you not giving free kicks? He's just done that to me. He's bit me, or he hadn't bit him, but he bit me. He elbowed me in the face. Did you not see it? He's punched me." And you're thinking, that's what we did. That's what you did. If you could get away with things, but during the game, you did them to rile the opposition and knock them off their game, because you knew obviously the Arsenal team were superior to our team. There was no two qualms about that. But as far as effort and tactics and mentality, we beat them hands down, which we did a lot of the time, I think, especially at the Reebok.
Yeah, the evolution of the game is wild. Like, I watched a video my mate sent me the other day. It was Manchester United versus Wimbledon. And honest to God, Nicky, right? Some of the tackles Roy Keane and Vinnie Jones are putting on each other. Vinnie Jones put one on him, right? I swear, I winced. I was like, oh my God. I don't know. He might have not even got booked, right?
No, I probably didn't. No,
and the tackles that were going in, I was thinking, Jesus Christ, how are they alive after this? It was wild.
Well, I've got a DVD of my highlights, which got done years ago, and the tackles on there are frightening. Some of them are frightening, but the great tackles, but they are the frightening. Like, you would never ever in a million years get away with any of them now.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it, the evolution? Because you talk about, obviously, we mentioned Vinnie Jones and the Roy Keanes, and then you mentioned playing against Arsenal. Gary Neville talks about, I think it was Jose Reyes, how he just bullied them the entire game. And you just don't see fullbacks do that anymore, do you? It just doesn't exist. Like, Wan-Bissaka now is sort of probably the best defensive fullback, so to speak. But he's very refined in his approach. It's very smooth and very silky. I've never seen Wan-Bissaka actually bully a guy into submission, which I would actually quite like to see if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, because like we go back to the VAR, and there's that many cameras at different angles, you can't get away with anything. Like, you can't even step on someone's toes because they'll start hopping about and then dive on the floor. The referee will have a look at it and he'll either book you or send you off for stamping on someone's toes, where in our days you'd go on the back of their Achilles when you're jumping up for headers, you'd knee them in the back when you're jumping up for headers, you'd in corners, you'd nip them as hard as you can. It was right. Some guys you wouldn't necessarily punch them, but you'd rile them that much. You'd rile them that much that they'd end up getting subbed after 65 minutes because they'd just be complaining that much. And then you knew you had them. You knew you had them in the bag. And as soon as you seen their number up, you knew that you'd won. Your individual battle. And that's what Sam instilled in us as well about individual battles. They were massive throughout the team.
And on that subject as well, Nicky, was there a player that you came against on a regular basis that you just knew, I've got him, someone you just knew that you could have in your pocket, someone you just knew you were better than? Not necessarily knew I was better than, but knew you had certain teams that you played against. Like we had, I know I hate to say it, but when we played Newcastle away, we always did quite well there. And whoever you played up against, it was usually Laurent Robert when I was playing. He was a fantastic talent, fantastic, great left foot. But I knew that if I smashed him 2 or 3 times in the opening 15, 20 minutes, he'd not want to know anymore. He'd switch wings, or he'd go try and play him behind the striker. Or as soon as he'd get it, my biggest victory for me is when a winger got it and he was 1v1 with me, he passed it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He knew that if he tried knocking it past him, I'd either tackle him or the ball. They weren't both getting past me. So that was my mentality. Obviously, sometimes they both went past me. They whipped it in and he scored a goal. But my mentality was, if the ball gets past me, you don't. If you get past me, the ball doesn't. So it was one of them. So you knew, it was a moral victory for me when their number came up and we were winning the game or whatever, we were drawing the game, and Ian had the best game. It was a moral victory for me.
Yeah, there's a generation of fans now that are almost like football purists. I think they're a little bit spoilt and they don't really appreciate the dark arts. Like, I'll be honest with you, Nicky, I say it all the time, I like a bit of shithousery. I like it.
Doesn't everyone, everyone.
I like a bit of bastardry in a player. I think to myself, you know what? Yeah, give him a little stamp, give him an elbow. I miss those days, I do miss them. And we're so used to tiki-taka and gag pressing, the Achilles stamp is gone, and it's a shame. It is a shame.
It is, like picking someone up when you've just tackled him, but standing on the fingers while you pick him up. And it's like things like that. It's so innocuous, and then you go, "Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah. Let me just pick your little finger up that's dangling off you." Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just little. I used to love it, mate. I used to love playing against Crouch as well. Crouch, because I just used to, every tackle I'd make on him. And he'd end up laughing. He'd get really angry at first, and then he'd just end up laughing because he'd think, "What are you doing? You're like 19. What are you doing? You're like a little psychopath. What are you actually doing?" He just giggled to himself. But I used to get so riled up for playing football matches. It was uncanny, and that's all I knew. I knew getting forward and tackling. That's all I knew. Passing it to the easiest pass I can do, whipping balls in, try and create a goal, or just tackling as hard as I can. That's all. I want to do.
That's probably a compliment there, Nicky, saying what you said about Peter Crouch, because I listened to his podcast. I don't know if you listen to his podcast, but he says that when he was always playing, especially against the teams like Bolton, he would always mark out the defenders as either buffaloes or gazelles, and he would always try and play on the shoulder of the gazelle because it would be easier for him to knock up against a big, strong buffalo. So perhaps he was saying you were an elegant footballer, Nicky. Maybe.
He's probably saying I'm the gazelle. That's what he's saying. So he was probably elbowing me in the end. That's why he was laughing. He's probably elbowing me and then laughing about it in the end.
But no, those were the glory days, Nicky, and rightfully so. Obviously, you had a great time over at Bolton. But I wanted to question you about obviously leaving Bolton. Then, I mean, looking at your career since Bolton and when you did initially leave, I mean, you bounced around a few different clubs in the Football League, and then it was eventually Accrington and Stanley that you sort of settled at for a while. Why do you think you sort of struggled to sort of cement yourself somewhere else? And what was leaving Bolton like?
Leaving Bolton was hard. That's all I'd known in football. From such a young age, that was all I'd known. It was hard, going into a manager's office and then telling you that, I had a year left on my deal, that, you no longer needed it, and he wasn't necessarily saying I had to go, but he said I wouldn't be playing, if I did, I'd be cover, or second cover or third cover even. So I thought, that's not for me. I just want to be playing games, and that's when I decided to leave. And then there was a sniff that I could have gone to Portsmouth before Bristol City, but I decided to go to Bristol City, make a new start, go and get 35 games, 36 games, whatever it was, and crack on in the Championship. Because I'd already played Championship at Birmingham. I went on loan there, and then I played Championship at Derby, so I knew what to expect. I knew what the league was all about. It wasn't that different to the Premier League, if I was brutally honest with you. They say now there's a big difference between Championship and Premier League. I'd agree and disagree with that. I think there's a lot of players in the Championship that can play Premier League football.
Yeah.
But there are teams that could never survive in the Premier League that are playing in the Championship. I do agree with that. But I knew the league, and I went there, and the manager unfortunately left. I don't know whether it's because he signed me, but he left after 5 days or something. I think we played the first league game, got beat against Millwall, and then we played Southend away on the Tuesday night in the League Cup, got beat 3-2, and then he left on the Wednesday, and we were like, what's going on here? And then it mad like carnage. And then Keith Millen took over. I think I played the first 6 games, and then he decided that he wanted to, bring a young lad through. And, football is full of ups and downs, and it's full of things that you've got to face and you've just got to crack on with. But yeah, like you said, Accrington, that's when Liam Richardson was a manager when I first moved there. And obviously James Beattie was playing, Franny Jeffers was there as well. They had a good mixture of old and young players. And I think I spent 2.5 years there, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And that's when it got my love for football back. I'll be brutally honest with you, because it was a hard time before that, especially leaving Bolton and stuff, and not falling on my feet and not playing loads of games. It was difficult.
Yeah, do you know what's interesting? You mentioned about that. I remember Roy Keane talking about transfers and how he felt like the woman in the house should sort of follow the footballer. He's the breadwinner, he's the earner, she should kind of fall in line. I think this may have been in relation to Olivier Giroud, because there were other sort of offers for him, but he wanted to stay in London for family reasons. And I don't think, Nicky, sometimes people appreciate the family aspect of it. Like Roy Keane is just like, he's just like a Rottweiler, and he's so like zoned in. He's like, I just want to win. I'm taking the missus wherever I need to go to win, and she's coming along and she's going to have to lump it. Whereas in other families, it's a bit more like domesticated. They're like, well, shall we move? What should we do? And I think that element, again, from football fans, because we're not in that bubble, we don't often think, Nicky's moved down south, he's away from everything that he knows. This is completely new. That might be affecting his performance. And it, looking back, is those moves, is that maybe one of the reasons it didn't sort of pan out?
Yeah, I think so. I think being a footballer, you've got to be prepared to move wherever work is. You've got to be. It's very rare that you're going to stay at one club the whole of your career. It's very rare that the club's round the corner. That there's only a handful of players, I think, that have ever done that. That live round the corner from the training ground and the ground, and they stay there for 20 years. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen. So yeah, it was a big upheaval. Obviously, I'm a real family guy and home bird, so to speak. So yeah, just it was difficult, but it had to be done. I had to move away from Bolton, and I had to get out of the whole, the town. I think just for my mental being. I think because I'd had 2 seasons where I'd not really played a lot, and it was really getting to me, and I just needed a fresh start. And I just thought, 3-4 hours away. Yeah, it's a longer way away, but it's not a million miles. It's doable to visit the family, and things go through your head. Any footballer would be lying to you if he said not. They don't worry about things. Of course they do. No matter how much money you're on, you're always worried about family's health. Is everything all right? With football, within training, within your life personally. No one knows what's going on. Only the actual footballer himself. So. It was, it's a difficult time, but I think I'd say I needed that to rejuvenate my love for football. I think because it was a real low point for me personally, but I knew that I was mentally strong to come back and do what I did since.
Yeah.
Since joining Darlington, then you've converted yourself to a centre half. So I've read. Have you found that difficult? I mean, what centre half are you comparing your style of play to?
A very slow one. One that's very no. I don't know. I just think I still like playing football. I still like taking touch. I still like chesting it down and flicking it over strikers' heads, and and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's just my mentality on a football pitch. I'm not one of them that just booms the ball. The centre half, don't get me wrong, that are really, really good at it and made a career in the game by just heading it and booming it as far as they can and tackling. That's not me. I do love to tackle still, obviously, but I love to play football. And I found at Crewe, the last 2 seasons that it suited me perfectly because that's all they do. They play football, they get on the floor, they play from the back, and it's a great way to play football. It's a lot more enjoyable, and it did last year. Got promotion and stuff, and it wins you games and ultimately gets your medal around your neck at the end of the season. And Darlington's much of the same. We do play a lot of football. We've got a lot of players that do want to play football, and it suits me down to the ground.
And they had an opening for a Gazelle at centre half, and you said, "That's me."
Yeah, as long as they don't come up against Crouchy, I'll be all right.
Yeah. It's funny you talk about the style of play because, like I said, we had Norberto Solano on, and he talked about the cultural differences. And he was saying, he first came to England and he'd look beside him in the sort of the tunnel and he'd see these basketball players beside him, and he was like, his neck was so sore after a game because he was just watching the ball go from box to box.
Yeah.
The cultural aspect of football. Did you ever consider a move abroad? I know you say you're very homely. Nice villa in Portugal or Spain, and sort of, did that appeal to you, or was it kind of like just never on the cards?
America was at one stage. I think while I was at Bolton, America was, but that was in the early stages when I think Beckham had just. Beckham was at Real Madrid. Someone had just moved out of there, like a big marquee signing.
Yeah,
and it was nowhere near as big as it it's become. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't very. I'm not saying the financial package wasn't good or anything. It was, but it wasn't. It wasn't, enough for me to move, away. It would have been moving away, from the family and stuff. And I can't put money on it. They could have offered me, £1 million a year, and I still wouldn't have gone. It's just one of them things. It wasn't attracting me more than football here in this country was at that moment in time, sort of thing.
Yeah,
but obviously, everyone would love to go and play in Spain or Portugal for just a year, just to experience it. I think any footballer would be lying if they said that they didn't want to do that. I think it's just to experience a different culture with playing against obviously Sporting Lisbon and Atletico Madrid and being over there for 2-3 days at a time and seeing the whole the culture and the fans over there. Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't want to go for 12 months.
Oh, there's some sweet gigs, man. Like the one that stands out for me right now, and I think he has fallen on his feet superbly, is Phil Neville at Inter Miami. That is a sweet gig. I mean, South Beach after training every day, very limited expectations as a new club. He's not expected to win everything right away. That's a great gig, Nicky. If you ever want to move to Miami, get in touch with Phil.
Yeah, that's a sweet move. I mean, it's all football's about who you know, isn't it? It's about who you know and who you spoke to over the years that remembers you from having a bit about you and stuff. And it's all about reputations. It's all about memories about if you've met them on even like people. I speak to people now that I met at, I could have met after a game somewhere or not just players, like, business people and stuff. And they still remember that exact time that you met them. And obviously I do a lot of the time, but sometimes you don't, but you don't know where relationships can take you after that. I think I got my move to Rotherham purely because Lee Johnson at Bristol City, who's now the Sunderland manager, spoke to Steve Evans after a game when I was at Bristol City, and Steve Evans was speaking to John, I was saying, have you got any players here that we're going to have a right go at Rotherham? Got a new stadium and that he wants to be in the Championship. He said, have you got any players that kick on at this level? And he said, Hunty would do a great job for you, because I wasn't playing at the time, obviously. Yeah. And I think that's what got me my move to Rotherham. It's just little things like that, and it's madness, like who speaks to who and where they actually speak to them. and what can come from it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, no doubt.
Leading on from that, then obviously you say it's who you know in football, and talking about the financial side as well. I mean, there's probably a subject that I wanted to talk to you about, Nicky, and you coming on the podcast. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of interest from Bolton fans, and one thing that's been a sad topic from a Bolton perspective over the last few years is the ongoing financial situation. And I know obviously that they're somewhat through, I'd say, the worst of it at the moment. I just wanted to know what was your take on what was going on over there. And as a former professional, people like to chirp up on TalkSport and things like that. And they like to blame former footballers for not, helping out a club or whatever. I want to know, is there anything on your side that were you talked to by any of the former footballers? Did the former footballers, your former teammates, talk about what was going on? What was your perspective of the whole situation?
There was talk at some point between a few of us about a consortium. A few of the ex-Bolton lads had a couple of conversations about it, but about buying the club, or about getting into business people and having 5, 6, 7 people buying the club, and to get it out of the state it was in. Like it never got spoke about. I think Bolton fans might think that players didn't want the because they weren't there anymore, or they didn't like the club anymore, or whatever they thought it was. It was never about that. It was always, obviously, everyone who's played for Bolton loves the club. Like I love the club. I speak to Kev Davis all the time. Speak to Kev Nolan. They've still got a place in the heart. You never know what's going to happen in the future. But I think the whole way it went downhill was a tremendous tragedy. I think it could have been done a lot better. I think when Sam Allardyce left, I think the writing was on the wall before he left. I'll be honest. I think maybe the season before. I think maybe there was difficult situations involving people high above and the staff and some players, so to speak. I think the writing was on the wall from then. I think the way they've gone, the demise. I'm going to say demise because it is a demise, really. It got into such a bad state. Deducted points and and losing the Premier League status, then Championship, and then League One, and now they're in League Two, and it's it hurts everyone. Everyone in Bolton it hurts, and everyone who's involved in the club it hurts. And I'm just gutted for the people, people in the background, the accounts, the people that did every day, that ran the club. That none of them are there anymore. Like there's no one from when I left in 2010 there anymore, and I just find that absolutely incredible. For such a family town and a family club, I just think it's remarkable, like how they've got rid of every single person. It's crazy.
Yeah, it rips the soul out of the community a bit, doesn't it? It's one of those things where, coming from Swansea, I kind of have, the Swansea story is very similar, almost going out of league football and then, the rise up to the Premier League. And it's incredible how big a staple the football club is in a community, because I can't imagine the community down here without a football club. It would break people's hearts. What would they do on a weekend? What would they look forward to? The Swansea City, for example, for a lot of people is the first thing they think about when they wake up, and it's the last thing they think about when they go to bed. And when they go abroad, that's, people say, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Swansea, and they go, oh, Swansea City. And people would have done that with Bolton as well. And you're right, mate, it's just so sad.
It's honestly, when you get people, you get stopped in the supermarket, and from lifelong Bolton fans saying, this was like 2-3 years ago. I think there was in the Championship then, and they were even saying then, look, what's going wrong with the club? Like, why are we in the Championship? And that, and obviously it's got worse and worse and worse now. And obviously they're in League Two, and I think they've got a manager now, and they're playing a style of football which Bolton are not used to. Bolton teams are not used to play like this, but they're getting rewarded now because he's got a team in place where, and they know his style of football, what they're playing. And, you talk about the beautiful game and tiki-taka. I think they're playing like that. And, I think, but you've got to remember where you are, what league you're in. We did last year at Crewe, but we had the players that it's instilled in them when they're 5 years old. That's the only way that they know how to play. So it's a lot easier to bring them through and to play the style of football that you're playing, rather than someone coming in and just implementing on day one when you've got 22 players that never played that way before. You know,
Yeah.
It's very difficult, and you know, for a lot of Bolton fans, it's very hard to, because for a lot of Bolton fans, me included, you always look at the glory days. You always look at, you know, the cup final days, you know, the promotion to Premier League, the European days, you know, the finishing, you know, 6, 7, 7, 6, wherever it was. They're the glory days then. And you're always going to think about them than think about what's going on now, because you think that your team should still be there, which every fan would think that, you know, every fan would think that the team should be higher than what they are. It's just a mentality of a fan, because you love the club so much and you just want the best for the club. So yeah, it is. It's especially coming from Bolton and still living in Bolton as well. It's a sad time at the minute, but I'm just glad to see that they're at the top end of the table now. So it's bringing, you know, a bit of hope for the end of the season that they might just go and do something.
Yeah, fingers crossed for them. You know, we wish them well. They're a good club, and you know, no one likes to see stuff like that happen. Going back to the glory days, one thing I wanted your opinion on. Do you feel like you were unlucky to miss out on an England cap? Do you think you maybe could have nicked one somewhere down the line?
Yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, one or two. I think, why not? I think, you know, I was playing really well in the 21s, and you know, we were doing really well in the group stages and stuff. And you know, it is an element of luck. I think, you know, it's to kick on from the 21s. It's a handful of players. You don't very rarely you get, you know, 6 or 7 out of the England under 21s team just going straight into the senior squad and kicking on from there. So yeah, it was hard for me, but obviously I had 11 times, I think 10 or 11 times I played for the 21s, and I thoroughly enjoyed all my trips with them. And yeah, it's a proud moment to play for your country at whatever level it is, whatever age group it is.
Yeah, Michael Ricketts got an England cap, didn't he? He infamously played once for England, is that right?
Yes, yeah, he did. I think we played a half, didn't he? He played a half.
Yeah.
I think Kevin Davies played like half an hour. I think he came on and played half an hour, didn't he, Kev?
Yeah, I look at that and I think, yeah, Nicky, you should have had a cap as well. I mean, if they were giving him out to Michael Ricketts, in all due respect, you probably should. You could have easily got last 10 minutes. Like, I mean, come on.
1 minute. I'd take the last 1 minute just to have an England cap. But yeah, you know, who's saying I might not get one now? He's saying I'm too old.
Well, look, there's always hope. There's more hope than expectation, right? But you have to put the Prony and the Chinese down if you want John Stone's position.
England W team I'll play for. Yeah.
No, Nicky. We've got a few viewers' questions as well.
Oh yeah.
Just a quick one from me. I mean, I was looking at the European run that you went on in I think it was 2007.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't. It's not something that I personally remembered Bolton being in that situation really, but I mean, you have to put a lot of respect on Sam Allardyce and Bolton, of that Bolton team, what they did that year. I mean, you got through a group, I think, Bayern Munich in it, right? You went over to the Allianz, and I think you went over to the Allianz and took a point of them, and then beat Atletico Madrid in the last 16.
Yes.
And that is absolutely incredible achievement. And how do those European nights rank amongst your career, you know, best memories?
Unfortunate for me, I wasn't at the Munich game because I'd done my shoulder the Premier League game before, so I couldn't travel. So Gav McCann played in my place, and he did an extraordinary job for a makeshift right back. You know, we drew 2-2, and I think it did Kev Davies, did Ricardo Gardner and Kev Davies score, I think, or was it Kevin Nolan and Ricardo Gardner? I can't remember anyway. The evening obviously was sensational, and an evening that Bolton fans will never ever forget. For me personally, I think the Atletico Madrid one, I think we're still the only English team to knock Atletico Madrid out of the European competition.
Yeah.
To this day, I think, what's that, 13, 14 years on, which is an incredible stat, that really.
I didn't know that, and I'm going to use it.
Considering where they are now, I mean, you know, Atletico Madrid are in Champions League every year, and then you know, Bolton in League Two. But yeah, you know, I've got shirts from the games and stuff, and it's memories that I'll hold on to, you know, for a long time, you know, forever really. Great days, and great celebrations with the fans as well after it.
And that leads me on nicely, actually, to one of our viewers' questions. And you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I've got a question here from Gaz Price. I don't know if he knows you.
Pricey, yes, yeah. What's this then?
And he said, of all the shirts that you swapped for your career, is Pogba's your favourite, or is it someone else's?
His Pogba. See, this is. I know why he said that as well. Yeah, because he got me the Pogba shirt. That's why he said that. So he's fishing for me to say, yeah, Pogba's the greatest shirt ever that I've ever got. But unfortunately, no, I've got a lot of shirts over the years, and there's quite a few that I hold dear. Fernando Hierro got me the original Ronaldo R9 shirt, match worn, signed as well, which is that's framed, and but that's probably the one I hold dear. Obviously, I've got Thierry Henry's and Gerrard's, Aguero. It's people that few Chelsea players and stuff that that hold dear to me, which is great. And so to Price's question, no, unfortunately, Pogba's is not my most favourite shirt that I've got. Although I do love it, I must admit I do love it, and I do thank him for that.
Great, and we've got some more questions as well. We've got a question from Rich Jones. What was it like to play and train, more specifically, with JJ Okocha? Just how good was he?
He was an awesome talent. I think the stuff he did in matches, he did that on a real regular basis in training. No matter what even if you were doing 11v11 on Friday, dead serious, he'd still pull out a scorpion kick or a flick over someone's head or try and meg you 6 times before he put the ball across. Do you know what I mean? That was just him. That was just the way he knew football and the way the way he wanted to play, which was fantastic to watch, and it was amazing for me to train with him every day. Yeah,
just a maverick, and I suppose it gives you that sort of chance to train against unpredictable wingers as well.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, it gives you. Although you can't really go and smash JJ in training, can you? as much as I would have loved to every time he took the piss out of me, but you can't really put him on his ass and say, yeah, have that.
Yeah,
can you really?
It's a valid point.
We've got a question from Ben Jackson here. What was your favourite moment at Bolton?
Wow. My debut, obviously. I think there's probably 2. I think my debut, obviously, that I'll never ever forget. And then I think the European nights, especially Atletico Madrid away. It was a phenomenal achievement for us because we won 1-0 in the first leg and then drew 0-0 in the second leg. And considering the team that Gary Megson used to put out, he used to leave all his, the experienced ones for the Premier League, he used to leave all them at home and bring. Yeah, it was. If you look at the team sheet for the European games, it wasn't full strength if you looked, and I think we deserve every credit for the way we performed in Europe that season, I think.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like I said, I wasn't personally following that Bolton campaign, but it absolutely sounds like a belter for the fans.
Oh God, yeah. I can imagine the stayovers they had and the drinking they did, and the parties they had afterwards. I can imagine it being great. Yeah.
Sounds brilliant. And just a final question as well from H Kennedy on Instagram. Who was the hardest player to defend against in your career? I think we've had a slight. I'd say probably. Obviously, Ronaldo's up there, Henry's up there, but I played against like Ian Robin and Ryan Giggs, like people like the wingers that you don't come up against anymore. Wingers that just used to take you on, keep taking you on, like knock it past you, whip crosses in. I think the problem is with wingers now, I think, in the Premier League, when I watch them, no one that goes down the line and whips crosses in. They all want to either pass it sideways or try and beat you with a trick and beat you again and then do you know what I mean? I think it's old-fashioned wingers, old-fashioned wingers, I call them, because they used to knock it past you and whip a ball in, see if they can do you for pace. If they could do you for pace, they'd carry on doing it. If they couldn't, they'd try and find another way of getting past you, it's great. It was great, but you don't see enough of it now.
Yeah.
So who would be that one person that you pick?
I'd still say Thierry Henry, probably. I'd still say Thierry Henry.
I don't beat him, to be fair.
Yeah, do you know, you touch upon obviously that element of the game, Nicky, that's gone as well. I think the closest thing I've seen to an out-and-out winger, maybe even Perisic, thus far, in terms of the way he attacks a player. Like I look at, someone like a Damien Duff, for example. I love watching Damien Duff and Ian Robin at Chelsea, the new side. You'd have sort of both on either side. You probably played against them. The way they would just attack and attack and attack. Oh, just incredible. But going back to great players, that segues lovely into what I wanted to ask next. Now, what we ask all of our guests is basically a 1 to 11 of the best players you played with. so it can be across any clubs. I imagine it'll be very Bolton dominated, unless Accrington have maybe, or Doncaster or someone have
yes.
Some
right. Okay. Right. The by far the best goalkeeper's Yossi. He was just how he never played for a top 4 club. I'll never ever know. I think he deserved to play for a top 4 club for at least 4 or 5 seasons. I think he was phenomenal. He was great. I'm trying to think what formation to play. Right, we'll do a back 4. We'll go. Can you pick yourself?
Nah, yeah, of course you can. Yeah, feel free to put yourself in there.
I won't pick myself out. The thing is, with right back, I mean, that's predominantly the position I played. So I'm going to stick myself in. I'm just going to stick myself in.
Yeah, no, stick yourself in.
At centre half, we'll have Bruno Gotti.
Ooh.
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen anyone get past him, to be honest, in about 4 or 5 seasons when I was there. He was he was a man mountain.
Yeah.
The other centre half, I'd stick Hierro there. I'd stick Hierro next to Bruno, purely because I can't leave Campo out, you see. So he's got to play in front of the back 4. So I'm going to stick Hierro at the centre half with Ngotti.
Yeah.
You see, and then Ricardo Gardner at left back. He was a great player, phenomenal player, Ricardo.
Yeah.
Then I've got Campo in front, and then I've got to choose. It's a tough one. I've got to choose Kevin Nolan just because his goal scoring was second to none.
Yes.
At Bolton, and he was like my mentor sort of thing at Bolton. We used to room together all the time, and he was great for me. So he'll play there, and then I'd put probably JJ.
Yeah.
JJ next to him in there, in that little diamond. And then I'd probably go Kev Davis up top. No, I'd probably go Kev Davis on the right because he played there quite a bit. Anelka up top, and then Dufy on the left.
Ooh, Juve. Yeah.
Because he was great. He was so underrated, and he was fantastic for Bolton.
Is he a lad that stayed in touch with everyone? Because he seems like a lad that probably wouldn't, if that makes sense.
Yes, no, I don't think he has. I think last time I spoke to him, he was in the middle of Senegal somewhere. So he stayed on the phone for about 30 seconds and then said he had to go. So he's probably doing, God knows what he's doing over there. I think he's like an ambassador for Senegal now. So he's probably.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's probably doing something dodgy over there. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. He's quite the lad. Like there's a lad I'd like to get on this podcast and pick his brain. Let me tell you.
Oh God! Hey, if I could get him on, I'll get him on for you.
Oh mate.
I don't know what background he'd be in. He might have. God knows what he's got on in the background. So you just have to bear with him if he does come on. He'll probably have a Cavassier in one hand and a cigar in the other. Like so yeah, you just got to bear with him.
Yeah, that's a hell of a side though. That's a hell of a side you picked.
It is, it's fantastic. Yeah.
That would stack up well against pretty much any Premier League side now, I think.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of players that I couldn't put it, Gary Speed, obviously, if I could have 12, 13 players, he'd be in there without a shadow of a doubt. It's a lot, loads and loads of players that we played with.
Yeah, Speed, funny enough, was in Warren Barton's team, and he was in Norberto's team as well. So Speedo was in a lot of teams.
I think he just missed out Speedo because obviously I had Campo, JJ, and then Super Kev because he's although he's a scout, so I think he's Bolton.
It's a hell of a side, mate. That's a hell of a side. Reece, do we have any other questions for Nicky, or we all done?
So that was it from me.
We're all done. Nicky, thank you so much, mate, for coming on. Honestly,
no
I can hand on heart say I have absolutely loved every minute of it.
Not a problem. Anytime, honestly, mate.
It's been a belter.
Been a pleasure, mate.
Oh, pleasure's all ours, believe me. And if we can get you back on later down the line, mate, we'll happily have you on again. We'll put your social media handles in the description for everyone to follow you up. For those of you that haven't done it, obviously like the video, subscribe to the channel. We got loads of other content coming soon. And we will have some more videos next week, hopefully with some more guests. So we'll see you next time, people. Take care. Ciao.
Bye-bye.